Here will not be beautiful shots, will not be gloss, so that you get hooked and get another dose of dopamine. This is not relaxing content. This is a direct conversation about what you postponed, about what you turned away from. If you turned on this video, it means it's already cracked. It means lying to yourself no longer works. I'm not a psychologist and not a motivator. I just know what it's like to be at the bottom. And I also know, from below they don't pull out. From below you rise. Time is short. Therefore, no fluff, no wrapping, only the essence, only what holds. If you watch till the end, maybe for the first time you'll stop draining yourself. I too was at the point where I stopped respecting myself, and nearby, those who looked at me, parents, wife, children, sisters, people who expected me to pull myself together. They don't forgive weakness, not because they're cruel, but because they believe you'll handle it, but you won't handle it. If every day you betray yourself, in silence, in concessions, in self-deception, everything starts with respect for yourself. These aren't words, these are boundaries, what you no longer let pass. Here, you'll hear not only my voice, who and when speaks, figure it out yourself. Don't get distracted, and don't wait for instructions. Everything is already on the screen. Watch and draw conclusions.
Girl told guy that she's going to her friend's birthday, and in the morning she returned with smudged mascara in torn tights and without underwear. Today we'll analyze the story of a subscriber, after which you will understand how low a sweet girl can fall.
Hello. I want to tell my story, so you can help me understand where I went wrong. We with this girl long hung out in one company. We communicated as friends. The start of the relationship was at a party. She approached me, confessed that all this time she missed me, and suggested starting real relationships since I was in love with her. I immediately agreed. The first 10-12 months seemed almost ideal. We spent a lot of time together, argued rarely. She didn't go to clubs, didn't flirt with others.
So the man lists this as a plus, so like, not climbing on another guy, well that's it. Then the relationship is already close to ideal, how little men sometimes need.
I felt needed and important. If I gave in first after quarrels or gave in on small things, I considered it a normal compromise.
So if the situation required me to humiliate myself, then I humiliated myself.
Friends warned that with her it might be hard.
The question just arises, where do friends know this from? Well, okay, I won't talk about it now.
Friends warned. And what did you do? Kept silent? Ignored? Wrote it off as jealousy? Nobody told you straight. Maybe because they knew it's pointless. You were already hooked. Already decided she's special. That's the point, you weren't deceived. You yourself wanted not to see. Because feelings, above reality. And when feelings are above facts, you become a target, and she saw it from the first day.
But I was under a strong feeling of love, so I did not listen to them. Gradually, a close male friend from her school appeared, with whom she now also worked. Joint lunches, a lot of correspondence, including at night. I said that I was uncomfortable, asked to reduce communication.
So the man didn't say, listen, what are you doing at all? Get out. No, he says, can you please reduce the intensity a bit? Let's at least after midnight, it's not nice. You won't do it, right? This, or at least go to the bathroom. No, communicate a bit less, please.
In response, I heard that I'm setting frames, depriving her of freedom and acting like an abuser. Every time, so as not to look like a controller, I backed off, and the texting, cafes continued. The culmination crept up to her graduation from institute. There was supposed to be her ex-boyfriend, who dumped her in the first year. She suffered a lot for him.
So this is already completely another guy.
Well, I suggested going with her or at least discussing the format, but heard, this is my holiday. You're not needed there. If you forbid, then you're not a man. In despair, I issued an ultimatum, you go. Then we break up. Well, then I softened. Because I was afraid to lose her completely, the day before the graduation, a state of strong jealousy, I violated her boundaries.
Boundaries and control. Not the same. Control is when you dig into the phone, dictate who to talk to and where to go. Boundaries is when you clearly say, with me, me. It doesn't work like that. You don't threaten, you don't beg, you just put a period, because if you don't set boundaries, they set them for you, or nobody sets them. And then they just walk into you, like into an empty apartment with an open door. And here's what you must understand. Saying, "It hurts me," is not control. Control is when you forbid another to be themselves. But if you're afraid even to voice that it's unpleasant to you, it means you've already given up positions.
I have to look like this to make my ex go crazy. I'm shaking from the upcoming meeting.
Well, she was probably shaking because she understood what would happen there and what she wants, that's it. But that the man writes, "I violated boundaries." It feels like even now he's a bit ashamed. Like, well, I acted wrong. Maybe even need to write an apology, like, "Sorry, I caught you cheating. It turned out ugly. I shouldn't have known this," like that. And so, okay, what do? You read such a horror story.
I recorded her a long, emotional voice message, left for a couple of days out of town, but through messages we made up.
Now, the loyal approach, psychologists would approve.
Heard. Psychologists would approve. This is not a compliment. This is a spit, because psychologists might call it maturity, reflection, processing. But in fact, you again leaked boundaries. You didn't mark where the boundary is. You left, cooled off, signed up for what eats you, and now you think everything's under control. Yes, a psychologist would approve, only not that man who respects himself. In male circles, it's often said, "Why do I need a psychologist? I'll handle it myself." Sometimes, yes, yourself. But let's be honest, if you've been stewing in the same swamp for years, it means you're not handling it. A psychologist is not a guru and not an advisor. He doesn't tell you how to live. He shows why you don't live the way you want. A strong man isn't afraid to look into the dirt. He's afraid to stay in it. A psychologist doesn't pull you out by the hair. He walks beside you, but you still have to climb out. Yourself. Kindness is a choice and not a habit of bending. If you forgive everything, endure. Stay silent. This is not kindness. This is fear, afraid to lose. It means you've already lost yourself. It's not the woman's fault, not the relationship. It's you who allowed to be treated like that. And as long as you choose to be convenient, nobody will choose you for real. A woman doesn't respect the one who accepts everything. She respects the one who can say, "Here, that's it. Further without me." Want to be a man? Learn to leave on time. Not with screams, not with hysteria, but calmly, with a straight back.
I probably shouldn't have recorded and sent her such an emotional message, but she apologized.
She apologized, and I forgave. Are you serious? Cheated, hid, lied, and then just said, "Sorry," and that's it. This is not forgiveness. This is self-cancellation. You didn't give a chance. You removed consequences from her, and a woman who doesn't see consequences will repeat, only harder and more cynical. And if you forgave, you didn't forgive her. You betrayed yourself. We'll come back to this. But remember, cheating is not a mistake. It's a choice. And if you didn't give an answer, it means you were convenient in this role.
I forgave, although I understood that it's only a delay. A couple of months after the breakup, she flew to rest together with that same friend-colleague, for some time lived with him in our apartment, now communicates with several guys at once.
So she never stopped communicating with them. She always had several of them.
It's been almost a year I've kept complete silence, went to the gym, cook myself, study lectures on the psychology of relationships, try to build healthy boundaries. Already after the breakup from mutual acquaintances, I learned that that night, when she confessed her love to me, right before that, she slept with my friend.
So that's where they got the information from. They were probably shy to say "it seems," so basically the cheating happened at the very start of the relationship. That's how she celebrated, yes, exactly like that. Sleep with one, start with another, who knows where the logic is, but even that happens.
Remember, a real friend is not the one who sits nearby. It's the one who can look you in the eyes and say what others are afraid to say out loud. You're losing yourself. Wake up. He won't choose words. Won't wait for when it's convenient for you, because he wouldn't allow such a thing next to himself. He speaks right away. Not after. Not later. Not if you ask. Cheating is not news. It's a point, beyond which there are no excuses. And if he spoke, and you brushed it off, changed the topic, swallowed, you didn't just lose the situation. You lost respect, and where there's no respect, there's no real friendship. Because the strong don't keep weakness nearby, and weakness is silence when you need to speak. Respect is not words, it's a choice. And if you chose to stay silent, you didn't pass.
But I learned about it after the fact, and it intensified the feeling of betrayal retroactively. Now it's very important for me to understand why I ignored the first warning signals. Why did I set an ultimatum? Then back off myself, and how to stop confusing boundaries with control, so as not to repeat this story in the future.
What I'd like to tell you in relationships, you always have to put their safety first, no matter what. You just need to imagine that the relationship is a living being, and it's vulnerable. When a woman starts doing some nonsense, happily texting with other guys with a smile, and you do nothing about it, essentially, then you literally watch this being die. So she, in front of your eyes, torments it, tortures it, and you never stood up for it. Your problem is that you heavily depend on female criticism or praise. On a deep level, you really believe that if your girlfriend smiles, well, that's it, you're on the right path. But if she screams, gets offended, accuses, argues, that's it. 100% you messed up somewhere, but it doesn't work like that. It's a non-working model. Well, and as a result, you became her psychologist, not a man. She tested you and realized you're plasticine. With you, you can basically do whatever. If you don't change yourself in this regard, then any woman in a relationship with you will sooner or later realize this, because you can be taken through some offense, tantrum, pushed, and you could say taken hostage. Yes, if we talk about 2-3% of women, they won't do this. Decent ones, who basically respect you because they don't know any other way. But in all other cases, respect and authority need to be earned. You need to position yourself like that because periodically, they will definitely test you for weakness. And in relationships, they feed you crap depending on how wide you open your mouth. You opened it wide, so they shoveled it in. I understand you're like a kind guy and all that, but how you behaved in the relationship, it's not kindness, it's exactly weakness. When a woman starts acting brazen and impudent, you can make one warning, just one. You just tell her that, listen, your behavior, what you're doing now or planning to do, it's a threat to the relationship. It's not safe to behave like that. You understand that as a result, a tragedy can happen. And if she gets interested in this, gets concerned, starts discussing and resolving it, okay, then the relationship can probably continue. But if she starts screaming, arguing, proving that you don't understand anything and everything is actually fine, then you need to end the conversation there. That's it. She knows what she's doing, but she just plays dumb and doesn't want to understand it, doesn't want to admit it.
Listen carefully. Not with every girl can you build a family. This is not a theory. This is a fact. There's a type of woman with whom it's impossible to negotiate, not because you try poorly, not because you don't know how to communicate, but because in her head, not family, there, power, games, manipulations, chaos. And if you try to get through, you'll just lose yourself. You'll explain, persuade, endure, and in response, drama, accusations, and coldness. So don't build illusions. Don't think you can remake anyone. You're not a psychotherapist. You're a man, and a man doesn't save. He chooses. And if you want a normal life, first learn not to waste time on those who burn it.
If you give a problematic woman power in the relationship, she'll just start going crazy. Also, I see that someone or something convinced you that being controlling is shameful and bad? No way. Yes, you can agree with that if you force a woman to report to you where she was when you turn into some psycho. But I haven't seen such people in life. I don't know, maybe they're somewhere out there. But I haven't seen them, such cases are few. But stories where the situation is diametrically opposite, where a man doesn't scan a woman's behavior at all, doesn't filter it at all, just hopes everything will be fine. There are way more of those stories, but no, buddy. It won't just be fine. You have to keep your hand on the pulse. Nobody will do it for you. You have to notice her new attractions, friends, strange habits. What is she starting to gravitate toward? And based on her interests, hobbies, social circle, you can easily predict what desires she might have, so a man has to be sensitive. You have to be one step ahead. Why? Because if you don't notice the problem at the very beginning, then you won't be able to do anything about it later. I see you're an impressionable guy, so I want to give you this advice. You shouldn't be surprised by a situation where a woman can literally fight with you for the right to do some nonsense in the relationship. Male logic is a bit different. It seems to us that if a person consistently, firmly, stubbornly defends their point of view, then there's some truth behind it. But with problematic women, it doesn't work like that. Every fifth consultation is a story where, for example, a wife cheated and blames her husband for causing this to happen. So there's a complete substitution of concepts so you can't fall for it. A problematic woman can create complete chaos but pretend and convince you that it's normal. You mentioned that you're now immersed in studying the psychology of relationships, but you won't find answers there because psychology doesn't contain knowledge about human rot, how one moral defect leads to another. You were with a woman of loose morals right in front of you, face to face, and didn't notice anything? That's the real problem. You don't understand and don't see these cause and effect connections, but they exist. So from the perspective of psychology, if a woman cheated, they'll start digging into her childhood or your behavior, find some defect in you, so there'll be 100 excuses, but the whole problem, of course, is in the level of morality, in her lifestyle. You didn't provide this information, but I'm sure you can write a comment and confirm what I'm about to say. Just literally go through a few criteria. Does she swear? 100%? I know it, you don't even need to tell me anything. She definitely swears. Who does she hang out with? What are her friends like? What don't they represent? If she can, having a living boyfriend, tell her friend that she wants her ex. It means the friend practices the same thing. She's exactly the same. How does she spend her free time? Where did you meet? You met at a party. She wants to have fun, get pleasure. What music does she listen to? Either it's drama, well, definitely, or some club music. Well, something to really shake her up. Is there any modesty in her? No, brazen, impudent, arrogant. Does she like attention from others? Does she collect it? Does she want to love herself even more? Of course, she wakes up and finds a bunch of arguments. What to expect from such a person? Trouble. You ask me how to set personal boundaries, but why personal boundaries here? You just met a woman who teleports from bed to bed. A woman who just wants debauchery. And the dirtier the better. She needs these betrayals. She needs intrigues. Betrayals, double life. So it's not just a coincidence. She was heading toward it for a long time, every day, corrupting herself. You try to build some personal boundaries, and she's like a truck rushing at you at 150 speed. We hear a crunch, and she breaks your spine in a second. And when she sees that you're in pain, she won't break. She'll step on the gas even more.
Listen carefully. This is the trap you think. You can still steer, that she'll understand everything, that she'll come to her senses, you think. I'll endure. She'll change. I'll stay silent. She'll calm down. I'll give a chance. She'll be like before. She won't. Because at this moment, you're not saving the relationship. You're just giving yourself up. And the longer you stay silent, the less of you remains. Not for her, for yourself.
I'll tell you more. With the level of naivety you show, most likely, you still don't know a lot, you haven't noticed a lot. If we could get into her brain for at least 20 minutes, half the viewers would get wrinkles. They'd just start aging on the spot. And if you stayed in her fantasies for a day, the next day you'd wake up already a gray old man. Her cheating is not random mistakes. It's the meaning of life. The louder and more dramatic, the better. but the juiciest, most beautiful betrayal is still ahead of her. I think by the age of 40, she'll write such memoirs on her betrayals that you could read them like a book, and the story with you. It's just a small part of her big book. Conclusion. Relationships don't exist for female whims. If a person decides to enter a relationship, let them be ready for obligations. And I also think that in good relationships, they don't need any boundaries because nobody attacks anyone, and nobody needs to defend from anyone. A man and a woman should go in one direction. They should be like-minded, not sparring partners. And if there's some need to defend from someone, then it's nonsense, not a relationship.
Relationships are not about control, but also not about switching off. If you're a man, you keep your hand on the pulse, always. Not because you're jealous, but because you value yourself. Even if there's a decent woman nearby, you don't turn into furniture. Because as soon as you relaxed, decided, well, that's it, I found the one, you started giving up positions, and a woman feels it instantly. Not necessarily will betray, but she'll start testing. Always. Harsher, softer, doesn't matter. She'll test your stability. And if you don't notice, don't read the signals. Don't be surprised when everything falls apart. You're alert because you respect yourself. And a real man doesn't lose his grip exactly when he thinks he found the ideal.
Do you know what is scary in your story? She understood perfectly well that the person, well, is not very experienced. In many ways naive, soft, yes. And nevertheless, it did not bother her at all. Just imagine this picture, that is, she is downright flirting, climbing on other men. Well, it would seem, well, let the boy go. Well, he is worried. Well, you see, perhaps he is almost crying. His lips are trembling. He is stressed. He does not sleep at night. Who cares? Well, story number 2, which is even tougher.
Hi, I want to tell you my relationship story, which I am still in. What makes it hard? My relationship started 4 years ago. This is the second relationship that I considered conscious.
Yes, we remembered. We were conscious.
Her parents are divorced, though they live together. The mother constantly teases and mocks the father. There is no respect at all. Over these 4 years, we have argued very often, broken up, and gotten back together many times.
Well, what did you expect? In her family, the father is under the rug. The mother has mockery in her voice. Where would she learn to respect a man who gave her an example? No one. You placed a bet on a deck where all the cards were crooked from the start, and it's not her fault, but it's not your job to fix it either. You're not a therapist. You're not a rescuer. You're here to eliminate chaos from your life, to not shift the responsibility onto luck, but to see for yourself what this or that story might lead to. There's no magic pill. There's only cold practice. Made a mistake. Understood. Went through it. Solidified. That's how a strategy is formed. That's how a man is formed.
Well, this is a classic, so to speak, scenario. Many have this. When they break up for a while, get back together, even get used to it, that they might not talk for a week, and then start anew. And it seems like it will always be like that. Well, it's understandable.
But there was one period which completely turned the situation around, in the spring of 23, when we broke up because of her craving for entertainment. Then, I had a tough financial situation. I was paying off debts from a failed venture.
I am not surprised that you had a tough financial situation, because you allow such an attitude toward yourself, and that's the main thing. In the second place, what ventures? What business? You are not ready yet. Not in your head. Not in your position. Want to build an empire without learning to hold yourself. First, respect yourself. While you don't represent value, no one will hear you, neither in business, nor in words, nor in relationships. And until you build an internal foundation, everything in life will shake, like a house of cards.
Well, so he has problems, and she is having fun. Well, understandable.
Well, so these are his problems, not hers. He himself ended up in this situation. No one else needs to be blamed.
After 2 to 3 weeks, she gets a new guy with whom she partied for several weeks. In fact, she just slept with him. Allegedly to forget me and burn bridges forever, she told everyone that he was just an acquaintance. After another 2 months, she wrote to me. A conversation started, and I gave in, succumbing to emotion. I wanted to get everything back. She suggested meeting and talking.
Well, maybe now she will say something. Maybe she understood something. Maybe she regretted it.
Maybe, regretted, understood. All this is food for the weak. If she understood, she wouldn't have gone to sleep with someone else. If she regretted, she wouldn't have hidden it under the guise of just an acquaintance. She wasn't burning bridges. She was checking if the road back was still there. And you opened the gates, not because you love, but because you didn't close the old pain. That's what real weakness is.
So, as it turned out, she did it out of a wild desire to take revenge on me at the meeting. She started telling in detail how she slept with him. She said that she still misses him and has no feelings for me, of course. This crushed me. I fell into despair. But it passed after a week. A bit later, I met a new girl, completely her opposite, decent and caring, the ex, learning that I have another girl. Suddenly reached out with a request for help. She said it's a morally tough period for her. I met with her and realized that she just misses me. I break up with the good girl and go back to the ex, which I sometimes regret. The first 3 months after we got back together were fantastic. She wanted me like never before. She was caring, didn't argue, seemed like a completely different person. But her home version quickly ended. The relationship lasted until April this year, already without frequent fights and breakups. Once she went to a classmate's birthday party with a group of guys. I knew this guy and didn't suspect anything bad, especially since he had a girlfriend. She begged to go there, pleaded, swore she wouldn't drink. It all turned out to be a lie. A week later, she admitted she kissed him. She cheated on me. Later, it turned out she had been secretly communicating with him for 3 months. Their chats from both are deleted, and it's impossible to find out what really happened. After what happened, she swore and prayed that she realized her mistake, that she wants a family, will go to church, create comfort for me like never before, do everything I want, allegedly. Now she realized the monstrosity of her actions. I again gave in to my weakness, for which I blame myself every day. I realized that I can never build a family with her. No happy relationship will happen with us. I want to end this story, but I don't know how to do it.
I deliberately chose stories very similar, so it becomes obvious that there is nothing scarier than a depraved woman. I, of course, understand that many still dream of finding such a combination, where she is both depraved and modest, like choose a naughty girl, then turn her into a wife, and think that, well, if the wife leaves the house, then everything, the fidelity mode is activated, the chastity system is turned on, that after marriage, the attraction to men goes into sleep mode, that she starts avoiding random glances, touches, that she develops some kind of aversion to male compliments if she has a ring on her finger, right? And as soon as she crosses the threshold of the apartment, comes back from work, immediately the level of lust becomes critical. Yes, she starts whispering naughty things in your ear and behaves as freely as possible. You cough and she's already on her knees, and many dream of getting such a hybrid from their girlfriend or wife. But in real life, we see what happens. In life, there is a very small percentage of stories where a woman cheats due to some very complex course of circumstances, and even then, it's no justification. But for most, this is a lifestyle. That is, if you find out that in a woman's biography, there was an event that even remotely resembles infidelity, be prepared that she will betray you too. That is, let a woman taste this once, this adrenaline, thrill, unpredictability. Live through this very emotional episode, that's it. This is an addiction from the first try. She will then start negotiating with herself. Like, I did it once. No one will know. A kiss isn't cheating. I control everything, and so on. That is, if a woman has cheated at least once, that's it. It's like a former addict who can relapse at any minute after a month, a year, 5 years. This is an addiction. This is a temptation that will haunt her to the grave.
They say there is nothing scarier than a depraved woman. In fact, there is. But we will talk about this in other videos. Remember, if a woman has tasted infidelity, it's not an episode, it's an addiction. According to statistics, it's harder for a woman to quit bad habits than a man, because her weakness is in emotions, not in logic. And infidelity is a drug for emotions. And if she relapsed once, the chance of repetition is not just high, it's programmed.
Infidelity, this is an event after which a woman, well, most likely won't return to her normal state. If a woman has this lustful passion already appeared, then it will grow inside her like mold. Now, if we talk about your case, there are interesting nuances here. We should pay attention to her logic of actions. So, you went to reconcile with her, you were open, she lures you out to meet, you take off your armor, you become vulnerable, and exactly at that moment, she strikes at the weakest point. That is, this was a targeted shot so that you would visualize what she had with another man. She picked the worst words to hurt you as much as possible, to destroy you. Nevertheless, by some miracle, you survived, recovered, you have a new woman, you are smiling as soon as she learns that you are alive. What does she do, right? She urgently reaches out. And for what? Why does she come back? To finish you off. If you start feeling good without her, it makes her feel bad. That is, this just looks like some kind of external demonic control. That is, she tries to take a more convenient position to spit in your soul. Okay, then you are together again. She cries and says that it's all. She realized everything. This will never happen again. Several months pass, and suddenly your beloved tells you that she cheated on you again. And here the first thought that should have appeared in every viewer's head. And for what does she tell you this? Think about it. And for what? If she had a conscience, she wouldn't have climbed onto someone else. There is no conscience. Conscience is on vacation.
Never believe the tears of a girl who betrayed you. Not under any sauce. Not for nothing they say. Girls are actresses. Rely only on facts. Tears. This is pure manipulation. She cries not because she regrets, but because she wants to control the situation. If she confessed herself, it's not conscience, it's a tactic. Betrayal remains betrayal, no matter how beautifully she presents it.
So, the reason for this revelation is something else. She wants you not only to learn about the infidelity, but to imagine it in detail. She told you about it not for cleansing, but for inflicting pain. This is not a confession, this is another attack. Well, and, of course, yes, this can be accompanied by a phrase like, "You should know, I can't hide it anymore now. Yes, you will definitely leave me." But we with you understand that she is not ashamed. Her behavioral logic is quite simple. If you are around, she cheats on you. If you leave, she starts pulling you back to finish you off. Yes, it turns out funny. At the moment of infidelity, her conscience turns off and then suddenly turns on to tell you the details of the infidelity. But you yourself wrote that she really wanted to go to that birthday party. Why? Because she knew in advance what would happen there. A woman cannot accidentally end up in a situation where someone starts kissing her. You know what's a bit scary in this story? How consistently the woman acts? Well, let's just imagine, and what if her task was to mentally destroy a man to the ground? What would she need to do for that? Give hope, and then take that hope away suddenly, harshly, brutally, with a crunch. She has already done this several times, do you think? If you stay with her, she will repeat? She will, of course, and why does she need this, for what? Let everyone think about this, by the way. This is a favorite technique of cheaters called confession of the minor. She creates a safer version, a more innocent one, to forever hide the horror that really happened. That is, this confession of a drunk kiss can serve as insurance in case some information leaks. After all, there were witnesses at the birthday party. So if someone whispers something to you, yes, she will just say, "But I confessed everything to you myself. I could have told you nothing. My version is true. I'm not some liar." And she might even get offended because of this. This is like stealing gum, then confessing to it, so no one notices that a safe disappeared. As for solving your situation, unfortunately, you yourself cut the rope by which you could easily get out. That is, we are talking about this good girl that you dumped. The story could have already been finished. This would have been a very positive ending.
Nothing positive would have definitely come out. You need to form your personality and take off the rose-colored glasses. You think you missed a good ending, but it was just another illusion. The real way out is always harsher, because the truth is never comfortable. You got a lesson. Now either benefit from it or prepare to step on the same rake again. Knowing the path and walking it are not the same thing. Well, and now, the longer you stay in this story, the deeper. Like a car in mud, you just dig in, and it will be harder for you to get out. Your problem is not unique. 99% of people, they don't know how to make decisions in relationships. Most people, they just go with the flow. Well, like, fell in love, got together, fell out of love, left, got bored, called, wanted, wrote. Almost everyone lives like that. If I want, I do. If I don't want, then I don't. And when there is a need to do something against their feelings, a person can't do it. So you say, I want to end this story, but I don't know how to do it. Well, it's the same as saying, I want to go to the gym, but I don't know where the door is. Well, of course, the problem is not that you don't understand why you should do it. That is, in your head, there is no clear, positive picture of what good is waiting for you at all. Because a person can endure pain only if they understand what they are doing it for. You can further live in silence, be silent, endure, pretend everything is normal. But no, this is not an exit. This is a sentence. Once you swallowed betrayal, you signed up for the next one. Women respect not those who endure for love, but those who don't endure at all. Here is not a show. Here is not motivation. Here is the truth, which works, without water, without snot, without excuses. I will show you a real way out, because I myself went through this path and know exactly where the door is. I won't ask for a like respect, needs to be earned. Asking for it is humiliating. This is not my style. Subscription here is not content support. This is your position, a sign that you woke up and are ready to move forward, without fear and without illusions. Remember once and for all, the question is not in her. The question is in you. And I am not saying goodbye.